thank you for viewing our website. We are Hope Evangelical Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod. I am George Kelm, Chairman of the Elders and an organist for the church. We are pleased to have you listen to the message portion of a regular Sunday morning 9 a.m. worship service. The Reverend Dr. Timothy Oswald is our pastor and will be preaching the message. Dr. Oswald was called to our church in November of 2016, having retired as a Lutheran Navy chaplain and attaining the rank of captain. His messages and Bible studies have inspired members as well as visitors to our church. Please feel welcome to join us on any Sunday at 9 a.m. and Bible study at 10:15 following our worship service. We are a very friendly congregation and look forward to meeting you. If you would like to speak with the pastor, please call area code 757-831-6948. Again, that's 757-831-6948.
Grace and mercy and peace be to you from God our Father and from our Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. I'll never forget years ago on one of my ships when my command chaplain went away for a while because he was going to have that PRK surgery. You've heard of that, where they do the little surgery on your eyes and they can correct nearsightedness. Who would have ever guessed that technology would come so far? And they're so advanced in it, and they can do these wonderful things. And so they explained to him, as they always do when they're surgery, there's risks. 1 in 100,000 have this happen, and 1 in 300,000 have this other thing happen. But really, if you just go through the program, everything was going to be fine. So he was gone for a few days, and I was in charge. And I'll never forget getting a phone message. I got home, I missed the call, but as I picked it up, the message had come on, and I hit the message. And it was my boss's voice. And when somebody's voice just has that certain tone to it that something's really wrong. And he said, "Tim, I'm having some trouble with my eyes. I've got to go to the hospital, and they're not sure what it is, but we've got a lot of problems." I could hear what it was. He was afraid. He was that 1 in 100,000, that instead of his eyes getting better, this was going to make him blind. Well, it turned out that the drops that you put in your eyes for the next few days after the surgery, he had an allergy to those drops. And so he actually did go blind, but just for a few days until they discovered it, and then he recovered his full sight. But can you imagine what that would be like to just have that fear for just a short period of time that you were going to lose your sight? Think about how important our sight is to us. I remember as kids too, us talking, when how kids ask each other questions, what would you rather lose, your eyesight or your hearing or your taste? And all the kids always pick something other than your eyesight because we rely so much upon our eyesight, the ability to see. Today's gospel text tells us the story of this amazing healing of a man born blind, something that had never happened in all of history. But it's not just a good story. It's a story with implications for you. Because at the end of the story, Jesus said, "For judgment I have come into this world, that those who do not see may see, and that those who see may become blind." That means this story is not just about the physical blindness of this one man, but it's about the blindness that all mankind has, which God, through Christ, is able to heal and restore. And yet there are those who will insist on continuing in blindness. So you're in this story somewhere. It's a story about blindness. It's a sign. In John's Gospel, there are only 7 miracles in the whole Gospel. Did you know that? It's very different and unusual Gospel compared to the others. Only 7 miracles. And John calls them all signs. What are signs for? Signs point towards something. They tell us they're signs of something else. They're directing us towards something greater. And so this one is directing us toward the importance of spiritual sight, or conversely, spiritual blindness. So we read about Jesus going by, and they see this man who was born blind, and his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned? Was it this man or his parents? Anytime you see someone who is suffering, somebody who's experiencing some physical malady, it's not uncommon to have these questions of theology, right? Why did God do this? Why did this happen? And there's a connection there in the disciples' question with sin. That sin is what causes suffering in the world. Is that true? Answer is yes. When God created the world, there was no suffering. All suffering is a result of sin. But there is something wrong with their question. They ask, was it this man's sin? Or was it his parents' sin that caused him to suffer? Now sometimes when we sin, we bring about our own suffering, don't we? There's a famous phrase. I wish Master Chief Kelly was here. I can't wait till he gets back from Florida. But there's a famous phrase in the Navy. They say, watch out whenever your chief says, hey, watch this. Because they're going to do something really stupid, and something's going to blow up or something's going to break. And then it's kind of their own fault, isn't it? We bring about ourselves our own suffering sometimes because of our sin. Or suffering is sometimes passed on by parents. Do you remember the Ten Commandments? How we were told that the sins shall be passed on to the third and the fourth generation. And so sometimes parents can do something wrong and the kids end up suffering for that. But the vast majority of suffering isn't your fault or your parents' fault. It's Adam and Eve's fault. It's just endemic now in our fallen nature. Suffering is vicarious. And so it's wrong to say this person's suffering because of what they did or that person because of what they did. That puts guilt on people. It's not helpful. And so Jesus introduces here not just a third option, but an all-encompassing option. Something that is even larger. Something that is greater. He says, why is this man blind? That the works of God might be displayed in him. Why did God allow this man to suffer blindness? So that the power, the majesty, the activity of God could be made manifest in his life in a dramatic way. Have you ever had somebody ask you this question? I won't spend a lot of time on it, but I think it's worthwhile. If God knew that Adam and Eve would sin and that the world would fall and there would be all this suffering, and you could fill in the blanks, all the terrible things that happen in the world that just make your heart ache and cause you to cry, all the awful things that happen, why would God make a world like that if he knew it was going to happen? Because by creating this world, and a world that would fall into sin, he was able to send his son, Jesus Christ, to redeem the world. Bring about one day a new world. And those goods are worth it in the eyes of God. Sometimes we don't see it that way, which shows that we don't understand the fullness of God's great acts. So then in verse 4, Jesus goes on. He says, we, did you catch that? The plural? We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. So you see these themes of blindness and sight, light and darkness, and how they weave through this story. And he says, we must be doing the works of him, the Father, who sent Jesus while it's still day. What is Jesus doing there? He's partnering with us. He's welcoming us into his activity. We are the hands of Christ. We are the voice of Christ. We are the instruments for Christ to do his work while it is still day. Also, he says that we must be doing did you catch that word? Works. The works. This is going to happen on the Sabbath, and we're going to be introduced a little later to the importance of how this is a work that is being done on the Sabbath. So Jesus is already starting to set up the sense of antagonism that he's going to feel with these Pharisees. Verses 6 and 7. He makes the mud puts it on the man's eyes and sends him to the pool of Siloam to wash. Now, why didn't Jesus just say, "You're healed. Your blindness is gone"? Could he have done that? Of course he could have. He heals it that way in other places. So why make this mud? Here again, he's drawing out this sense of conflict that he's going to have with the Pharisees. By making the mud, what's he doing? He's working. By putting the mud on his eyes, what's he doing? He's working. He's working. By healing the man then and sending him to the soul, what's he doing? He's working. He's working on the Sabbath. And he knows that that's going to draw out this conflict. And he sends him to the pool of Siloam. John specifically tells us what the pool of Siloam, what the word Siloam means. Remember? It means sent. If John tells us that, there's probably some significance to it, isn't it? And so the man comes back. He's healed of his blindness. And the people are amazed. They can't believe it's the same man. And they ask him what happened. And he only at this point knows the basic facts. So the man called Jesus put mud in my eye. He tells them what happened. And then finally they bring him to the Pharisees, verses 13 to 17. And the Pharisees drill him. You hear that they're divided, right? The Pharisees, some are saying, how can this happen? Only a man sent from God could do this. And others are saying, no, he's a sinner. It couldn't have been. And so they turn it back on the blind man. And now the blind man's had a little time to think about this. So they ask him, well, what do you say about the guy that did this? What's his response? Well, he must be a prophet. He's thought it about a little while, thinks now that maybe the man's a prophet. Verses 18 to 23, we're told that the Jews still did not believe. The Jews did not believe. Now remember, this man who was healed was Jewish. His mother and father were Jewish. So when it says the Jews, it doesn't mean the Jews racially or ethnically. He's talking about the Jewish leaders. These leaders still did not believe. How could they not believe? There's the evidence right in front of them. There's this man born blind, and now he can see. Doesn't that prove to us beyond all shadow of a doubt that all the people who say that if God would prove to me beyond the shadow of a doubt, I would believe, that they're not telling the truth? You'll hear people say, oh, if God would just give me proof, if he'd give me more evidence. I was watching with my future son-in-law a really wonderful movie called Expelled by Ben Stein, where he talks about intelligent design. And in that movie, he has an interview with the famous atheist, Richard Dawkins. And he asks Richard Dawkins, he says, what if it turns out that you're wrong? And one day you have to stand before God and explain. What would you say? Richard Dawkins says, Bertrand Russell had that point put to him. And he said something like this: Sir, why did you take such pains to hide yourself? Ben Stein's point, of course, is that if intelligent design is built right into the fabric of what we see all around us, maybe the Creator didn't take pains to hide himself. But it's a point well made, because a lot of people who say, if God gave me proof, then I would believe, we see here an illustration of the fact that that's just not so. There are many, many people who you can give them proof. Look, a man born blind, and they will still find some way to say, I don't believe it. They call in his parents. His parents testify, yes, he was born blind, but they're afraid of the Jews, because the Jews are going to put anyone out of the synagogue who confesses Jesus as the Christ. And so that ends there. And so they pull him in verses 24 through 34 for a second interrogation. And this time they turn on the man. They say, give glory to God. Now, in the Old Testament, in the book of Joshua, do you remember when Achan stole the silver from Jericho? And so when Joshua is grilling him and questioning him, he says, give glory to God. What he means there is, tell the truth. Tell the truth. So this is a way of the Pharisees telling this blind man, come on now, be honest. Tell the truth here. What did he do for you? How did he open your eyes? They want to know the what. They want to know the how. They just can't accept this miracle. By this time, it's starting to sink in on the man. It's starting to settle on him. just what it is that is happening. He's getting wise to the approaches of the Pharisees and what they're doing. And he responds, do you also want to become his disciples? Now they really turn on him, don't they? Oh, you are his disciples. We're disciples of Moses. We know that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this man, we don't know where he comes from. The man has even more thoughts about this at this point. And in his simple theology, this is his response. God doesn't listen to sinners. God listens to those who do his will. No one has ever done a miracle like this before. So how could he have done this unless God were with him? In the man's mind, he's starting to see, this is indeed a man sent from God, the one who healed his blindness. The Pharisees, they don't answer him. They don't respond to his arguments. They just mock him. You were born in utter sin. What are they talking about, being born in utter sin? Being born blind. They're ridiculing him now for being born blind. So before they didn't think he was blind. Now they admit he was born blind. And they cast him out of the synagogue. This is how the story ends. Verse 35 to 41. Jesus finds him. Jesus says, do you believe in the Son of Man? And the man's response is, who is he, sir, that I may believe in him? And Jesus' response, you have seen him. He it is that speaks to you. And what is the man's response? Lord, I believe. And then something amazing. Don't let this go by too quickly. He worshiped him. Look at the journey of this man. How God healed his blindness. God came to him through Christ. God touched him in Christ. And in his own thinking, at first all he knew was his blindness was healed and what had happened. Then he comes to see that this man was a prophet. Then he comes to see that God surely sent this man. And now he has come to see that he is the Son of Man and that he worships this Christ. So you also, Christ came to you through the Word. Christ came to you in your baptism. And maybe you haven't always understood, but you're growing in your understanding, coming to understand better who he is, and getting to the point then where you worship him. Jesus says these words that I think really highlight for us what this story is all about. For judgment I came into this world, that those who do not see may see, and that those who see may become blind. There are those people who are spiritually blind. They don't see Christ in the Word and in the sacrament. They don't see Christ's rightful position as the one who lays a claim upon their life. If Jesus is the Son of Man, then your life must be different, mustn't it? To worship him means that you have to stop worshiping the other things in life that call for our loyalty. And the Pharisees hear this and they say then, well, are we blind? And Jesus' response is, well, if you were blind, in other words, if you had this condition of spiritual blindness and you longed for the light, you wanted to be illuminated, you wanted to have it healed, then you wouldn't be guilty. But because you say you see, that's tantamount to rejecting the light. The light that enlightens every man, John told us in chapter 1, has come into the world. And those who say, I see, I'm not blind, what they're saying is, I don't need it. I don't need it. And that becomes the essence of our human problem, isn't it? You remember in John chapter 3, for God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through him. Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the Son of God. And this is the judgment. The light has come into the world, and people loved the darkness rather than the light, because their works were evil. When people stand before God in judgment one day, what will be the reason that they are judged? It's because they did not believe. Because they did not believe. It's not all the things that we've done in our lives, all the bad things. It's the fact that we did not believe in this Son that he has given for us to take our sins away. So, my brothers and sisters, let's again make an honest cry from our hearts to the one who has come to us with the light. Call out in your hearts today, Lord, take away my blindness. Let me see the truth, Lord, and show me the light of Jesus wherever that path will take me. I believe. Amen.